Have you ever found yourself reaching for a quick snack and then wondering why you feel so sluggish afterward? Maybe your joints ache a little more, or your stomach just doesn't sit right. It's funny how the little things we eat every day can sneak up on us, especially as we get older. I know I've been there, grabbing something I've eaten my whole life without a second thought, only to realize later it's not doing me any favors anymore. And if you're over 60, like me, you might be noticing those changes too. Our bodies just don't bounce back the way they used to, do they? That's why I want to talk to you today about something really important. The one food that's probably sitting in your kitchen right now that could be silently wreaking havoc on your health. It's something so many of us eat without even blinking. But after 60, it's time to rethink it. You see, as we age, our bodies go through some big shifts. Our metabolism slows down, our digestion gets a little pickier, and even our bones and joints start asking for a bit more TLC. So, what we put on our plates matters more than ever. Today, I'm going to walk you through why this one food, processed sugar, is the absolute worst for us seniors. And trust me, it's in more places than you might think. We're going to dig into what it does to our energy, our hearts, and even our brains. And I'll share some easy ways to spot it and kick it out of your life for good. Because honestly, you deserve to feel your best, not dragged down by something as sneaky as a sugar-loaded snack. Let's start with why processed sugar is such a troublemaker after 60. You might be thinking, oh, I don't eat that much sugar. I'm not sitting around with a candy bar all day. And I get it. Most of us aren't. But here's the thing. Processed sugar isn't just in the obvious stuff, like cookies or soda. It's hiding in places you'd never suspect. Your morning cereal, that healthy yogurt, even the bread you use for your sandwich. It's everywhere. And it's sneaky. Now, when we were younger, maybe we could get away with it. Our bodies were better at burning it off or shrugging off the extra load. But now, that sugar sticks around longer than we'd like, and it starts messing with us in ways we can really feel. Take your energy, for example. You know that afternoon slump where you just want to sink into the couch and not move? A lot of that can come from sugar. It gives you this quick little boost. Sure, you feel great for about 20 minutes, but then it drops you like a rock. I used to grab a sweet roll with my coffee, thinking it'd perk me up, but by lunchtime, I was yawning and wondering why I couldn't keep up. Turns out, processed sugar spikes your blood sugar fast, and then it crashes just as quick. For us over 60, that roller coaster is harder to ride. Our bodies don't snap back like they used to, and that crash can leave us feeling wiped out for hours. Imagine if you could skip that slump and just feel steady all day. Doesn't that sound better? And it's not just about energy. Let's talk about what sugar does to your heart. I don't know about you, but I want my ticker to keep going strong for as long as possible. I've got grandkids to chase and trips to take, but here's the kicker. Too much processed sugar can pile on the pounds, especially around your middle. And that extra weight puts a real strain on your heart. It's not just about looking good in your favorite sweater. It's about keeping your blood pressure in check and your cholesterol from creeping up. I had a friend, Tom, who loved his sugary coffee drinks, those fancy ones from the shop down the street. He didn't think much of it until his doctor told him his heart was working overtime because of all that hidden sugar. It was a wake-up call for him. And it got me thinking about my own habits too. So, how do we start dodging this stuff? It's not as hard as you might think. One thing I've learned is to get curious about what's on the label. You don't need to turn into a detective, but just flip over that box of granola or jar of pasta sauce next time you're at the store. If you see words like high fructose corn syrup, or cane sugar near the top of the list, that's a red flag. And don't let those low-fat labels fool you. When they take out the fat, they often load it up with sugar to keep it tasty. I started swapping out my usual sugary snacks for things like fresh fruit or a handful of nuts. It's not about giving up everything you love. It's about finding what keeps you feeling good. Last week, I traded my afternoon cookie for an apple with a little peanut butter. Same satisfaction, no crash. Small changes like that add up, and you'll be amazed at how much better you feel. Now that we've got a handle on how sugar zaps your energy and puts your heart through the ringer, let's move on to what it's doing to your brain. Because trust me, that's a whole other story worth hearing. You know, one of the things I've always prided myself on is keeping my mind sharp. I love doing the crossword with my morning coffee or remembering the little details, like where my grandson parked his bike last time he visited. But I started noticing a few years back that some days my head felt a little foggy, like I couldn't quite grab the word I was looking for. At first, I chalked it up to getting older. It happens to everyone, right? But then I learned something that stopped me in my tracks. That processed sugar we were talking about, it's not just messing with your energy and your heart. It's playing tricks on your brain too. And for those of us over 60, that's something we can't afford to ignore. Think about it. Your brain is like the control center for everything you do. It's what keeps you laughing at your favorite old sitcoms, planning your next family get-together, or even just enjoying a quiet moment with a good book. But when you're eating a lot of processed sugar, it's like throwing sand in the gears. There's this thing that happens called inflammation. And while that word might sound fancy, it's really just your body's way of getting irritated and swollen inside. Too much sugar kicks that inflammation into overdrive, and your brain takes the hit. I read about how it can even shrink parts of your memory over time. Can you imagine? I don't want to lose those precious moments I've stored up, and I bet you don't either. I had a neighbor, Helen, who used to swear by her daily soda. She'd sit on her porch with a big glass of it, saying it was her little treat. But she started forgetting things, like where she put her glasses or what day the trash pickup was. It wasn't until she cut back on that sugary stuff that she noticed her mind clearing up a bit. She told me it was like someone turned the lights back on upstairs. Now, I'm not saying sugar's the only culprit. Life's more complicated than that. But it sure doesn't help when we're already trying to keep our wits about us as we age. And here's something else got me thinking. Sugar doesn't just fog up your brain. It can mess with your mood too. You ever notice how you feel a little cranky or down after a sugary snack? That's not just you being grumpy. It's your brain reacting to that wild ride of highs and lows. For us seniors, staying steady emotionally is a big deal. We've got enough to deal with without letting our food throw us off balance. I started paying attention to how I felt after eating certain things, and it was eye-opening. One day, I had a piece of cake at a birthday party. Delicious, sure. But an hour later, I was snappy with my wife over something silly. The next time, I skipped the cake and felt so much more even-keeled. It's funny how something so small can shift your whole day. So what can we do about it? Well, it's not about swearing off everything sweet forever. I mean, who wants to live like that? It's more about being smart with what we choose. I've gotten into the habit of keeping some dark chocolate around. You know, the kind with less sugar and more of that rich, real flavor. A little square of that satisfies me without sending my brain into a tailspin. And when I'm craving something sweet, I'll sometimes blend up a handful of berries with a splash of water. Tastes like a treat, but it's all natural. It's these little swaps that make a difference, and they're easy enough to stick with. You don't have to overhaul your whole life. Just nudge it in a better direction. Speaking of direction, let's shift gears a bit and talk about how this sugar habit might be affecting your joints. Because If you're anything like me, those aches and pains are something you'd love to keep at bay. You know, there's nothing quite like the feeling of getting up in the morning and moving around without that stiffness slowing you down. I used to love taking long walks with my dog, just soaking in the fresh air and letting my mind wander. But a while back, I started noticing my knees creaking more than usual, and my hips would ache after a day of running errands. I'd sit down with a sigh and think, well, I guess this is just part of being over 60. But then I started connecting the dots, and it hit me. Processed sugar isn't just a problem for my energy, my heart, and my brain. It's also stirring up trouble in my joints. And if you've been feeling those same twinges, you might be surprised to hear how much this sneaky little ingredient could be to blame. Here's the deal. That inflammation we talked about earlier, the one that fogs up your brain, doesn't stop there. It spreads through your whole body, and your joints are like magnets for it. When you eat a lot of processed sugar, it ramps up that irritation, and suddenly, those knees and hips you've been relying on for years start to complain louder. I remember talking to my friend Jim, who's a retired carpenter. He'd always have a sugary energy drink to get through his afternoons, thinking it was keeping him going. But he'd limp around afterward, rubbing his hands and saying his arthritis was acting up. One day, he swapped that drink for plain water with a slice of lemon, and after a couple of weeks, he couldn't believe how much easier it was to move. It wasn't a miracle cure, but it sure took the edge off. For us seniors, keeping our joints happy is a big deal. We want to stay active, whether it's gardening, playing with the grandkids, or just getting out to see friends. But sugar makes that harder than it needs to be. It's not just about the inflammation either. It can pile on extra weight, and every pound we carry puts more pressure on those joints. I used to love a big bowl of ice cream after dinner, my little nightly ritual. But I noticed my scale creeping up, and my ankles weren't too happy about it. So I started cutting back. And it's amazing how much lighter I feel, not just in my step, but all over. So how do we keep sugar from stiffening us up? It's all about those small, doable switches. I've found that spices can be a game changer. Instead of dumping sugar into my coffee or oatmeal, I'll sprinkle in some cinnamon or nutmeg. It's got that warm, cozy taste without the downside. And if I'm baking something for the family, I'll use mashed bananas or a bit of applesauce to sweeten it up naturally. It still tastes great, and I don't wake up the next day feeling like I've been glued together. Little tricks like that let you enjoy your food without paying for it later. Now, as we've been chatting about all this, energy, heart, brain, and joints, it's pretty clear that processed sugar's been sneaking around in our lives more than we might have realized. It's not about feeling guilty for what we've eaten in the past. It's about taking charge of what we do next. You deserve to feel good, to move easily, and to enjoy every day to the fullest. So let's wrap this up with a few thoughts on how we can tie it all together and make these changes stick. I'll share what's worked for me and some encouragement to keep you going. Because trust me, you've got this. Just imagine how much better you'll feel when you show sugar the door. Let's talk about that next. So here we are, after peeling back the layers on how processed sugar sneaks into our lives and stirs up trouble, zapping our energy, putting strain on our hearts, clouding our brains, and even making our joints groan. It's a lot to take in, isn't it? But the good news is, you don't have to let it keep running the show. I've been there myself, staring down a pantry full of habits I didn't even realize were holding me back. And I'll tell you, once I started making a few changes, it was like a weight lifted, not just off my body, but off my whole outlook. You can feel that too. And it doesn't take a big, dramatic overhaul to get there. It's all about those small steps that add up to something amazing. Let's think about what we've covered. We've seen how sugar sends our energy on a wild ride, leaving us crashed out when we'd rather be enjoying the day. It's tough on our hearts, piling on risks we don't need when we're dreaming of more time with the people we love. It fogs up our minds, making it harder to hold on to the memories and sharpness we treasure. And it stiffens our joints, slowing us down when all we want is to keep moving. But here's the beautiful thing. You've already got the power to turn it around. It's not about being perfect or tossing out every sweet thing in your kitchen. It's about choosing what makes you feel alive, day after day. For me, it started with little swaps that didn't feel like a sacrifice. I traded my sugary cereal for a bowl of oatmeal with a handful of berries. Still sweet, still delicious, but so much kinder to my body. I ditched the soda for water with a splash of lemon or a slice of cucumber. It's refreshing, and I don't miss the fizz half as much as I thought I would. When I want a treat, I reach for something like a piece of dark chocolate or a homemade muffin with no added sugar. Just fruit to keep it tasty. And you know what? I feel steadier, lighter, and more like myself. My knees don't grumble as much. My head's clearer, and I've got energy to spare for the things that matter, like taking my granddaughter to the park or tinkering in the garage. Here's my encouragement to you. Start where you are. Pick one thing, one sugary habit you've been leaning on, and try something different for a week. Maybe it's skipping the sweetened coffee creamer or passing on that afternoon cookie. See how you feel. I bet you'll notice a difference. And that's the spark that keeps you going. You don't have to do it all at once. Just take it one choice at a time. And if you slip up, don't sweat it. I've had my share of days where I couldn't resist a slice of pie, and that's okay. It's not about perfection. It's about giving yourself the gift of feeling better, more often than not. I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me what you think about all this. Have you noticed sugar sneaking into your life too? Or maybe you've already found a trick that works for you. Share it with us. We're all in this together, figuring out how to live our best lives after 60. And if you found this helpful, give the video a thumbs up. It lets me know you're out there cheering me on. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button too. I'm always sharing more ideas to keep us feeling strong, sharp, and happy, no matter how many candles are on the cake. Here's to you, to waking up with a little more pep in your step, to keeping your heart and mind in the game, and to moving through your days with ease. Small changes, big rewards. You've got everything it takes to make it happen. And I'm rooting for you every step of the way. Here's to living our best lives at any age. Cheers to that.